Tonight, from the Estrel Hotel and Convention Center in Berlin, Germany, Boxing After Dark presents the HBO debut of one of the hottest and most talked about prospects in the heavyweight division, the Ukraine's Vitaly Klitschko, as he takes on America's Chris Berd in a heavyweight fight scheduled for 12 rounds. Our first HBO boxing trip to historic Berlin, a city changing as rapidly and as dramatically as any on the face of the globe right now. Here in Berlin, 60 years of European history can be communicated in a single snapshot. The bombed-out Kaiser Wilhelm Church in the middle of the city, surrounded by the bright new architecture and buildings which signify the burgeoning wealth of Germany as it moves into this new era. Hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Lampley. For weeks, we have been telling you that we would be here tonight to show you Vitaly Klitschko trying to extend his knockout streak to 28 against Canadian Razor Ruddock. Well, the rather well-worn Ruddock saw himself cleared to drop out of this fight 10 days ago with a reported case of hepatitis. And the last-minute substitute is the most elusive and difficult of all heavyweights to fight, the American southpaw Chris Berd, beaten only once by Nigerian Ike Ibeabuchi. What a change in the context for this fight. What a change in the challenge for Klitschko. Our normal expert commentator Roy Jones Jr. not with us tonight. So once again, it'll be myself along with HBO boxing analyst Larry Merchant. Larry, when we thought we were coming here to see Klitschko against Razor Ruddock, we had every expectation that we were going to get on the plane, fly to Berlin, see a round or two of boxing, a quick knockout, and go back to the United States. How is it that the Klitschko people, without any protest, accepted as a last-minute substitute Berd, who's regarded by some as the most difficult opponent in the division to fight?
90% arrogance, 10% ignorance. And Vitaly Klitschko, who looks like something out of a James Bond movie, does have that 100% knockout ratio to give him arrogance. In addition, he has a PhD in sports science, in which, no doubt, he has taken laboratory experiments to confirm that you can run but not hide from him. And when he was asked, which is his better punch, the left or the right, he said, this is a joke. My left puts him in a hospital, my right puts him with God. That's arrogance, or perhaps the joke is on him.
Well, where does the arrogance come from? We told you about the 27 knockouts in 27 fights. There were many who thought that Klitschko was just an Eastern European myth before he went to London last summer, and in the second round of his fight with the nifty Englishman Herbie Hyde, reached Hyde with a barrage of right hands, summarily destroyed him to win the WBO's off-brand version of the heavyweight championship. Now that title, so to speak, is on the line tonight against Berd. It would be abundantly clear here, given the fact that Klitschko has only been past 6 rounds once in his career in a 9-round knockout over Obed Sullivan, that Berd is going to try to wear him out, deplete his stamina, and hope that Vitaly will more or less knock himself out, as his brother Vladimir did in his one loss to the American journeyman Ross Purity. Can it happen?
Berd has a little man's arrogance. He believes it can happen. Consider this. After mouthing off that no prominent heavyweight would fight him a year ago, he finally got into the ring with a top 10 heavyweight, Ike Ibeabuchi, and wound up knocked out. Nevertheless, 6 months later, he took an ad in a Las Vegas newspaper declaring that all the heavyweights out there don't want to fight him. He was calling them all out. That's a little man's arrogance. We have an American arrogant fox against a Ukrainian arrogant bear.
All right, and that's part of the contrast we'll be seeing in the fight, some of it communicated in the tail of the tape between Vitaly Klitschko and Chris Berd. Both had expected to be in the 1992 Olympics. Berd made it for the USA. Klitschko was derailed by a last-minute drug test. And you can see that they are similar in age. There's a 6.5-inch difference in height. Klitschko at 6'8", a full inch taller than the American contender Michael Grant, who will soon face Lennox Lewis. A 5-inch reach advantage for Klitschko. Berd has surprisingly long arms. And at 244 pounds, with a 34-pound weight advantage, Klitschko is the biggest man that Berd will ever have been in the ring with. Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Vitaly Klitschko Chris Berg fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight, and you cannot be saved by the bell at any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
All right, thank you, Harold. So now here enters Chris Berd. Last fight, January 18. Took this fight a week ago Wednesday. Arrived here in Berlin this past Monday. Says he has had difficulty eating German food since he's been here. And believes, Larry, that he's lost 4 or 5 pounds coming into this fight in the past few days.
He needs some good news. And the good news is that, a little unbelievably, there are 3 of the 4 officials tonight are Americans. They originally were chosen as neutrals for a Razor Ruddock, who's from Canada, fight with a Ukrainian. They haven't been changed. So Berd has a reasonable expectation that if he wins about 10 rounds, he might get the decision.
Just as the Klitschko people blindly accepted Berd as the last-minute opponent, despite the dramatic change in the competitive context of the fight, so too they blithely stuck with the American officials and didn't protest. Closer look at Chris Berd.
Chris Berd was a middleweight in the '92 Olympics, weighed 169 in his first pro fight 7 years ago. His family is in his corner. His father trains him. His brother seconds him. His mother is there as support. And since that knockout by Abeabuchi, he's had 4 KOs.
Larry, there are still a lot of general columnists in the United States who make a part of their living by constantly saying there is no young talent in the heavyweight division. Are they right?
Well, I think any of these guys could emerge as real forces, as popular fighters, because all of them are big punchers.
And apropos of that graphic, if you're watching tonight and tune into our HBO website, www.hbo.com/boxing, you can vote on tonight's question. Which of those 3 young heavyweights has a chance to become an exciting champion? Vote for Michael Grant, Vitaly Klitschko, or David Tua. The results will be posted on our website and only on the website. If you live in the Eastern and Central time zone regions, you can participate in a live chat tonight with boxing expert Steve Farhood for 1 hour following the telecast. Now the Klitschko entrance, which is a bigger version, at least bigger in terms of the fighter size, of what Prince Nassim Hamed does for his fights.
But I think he's a little too big, Jim, to come in on a flying carpet. Needs a helicopter. A big, serious, ambitious, dedicated athlete.
Dr. Vitaly Klitschko has yet to be truly challenged in his professional career. You saw the statistic, 20 of 27 knockouts within the first 2 rounds. And even when he was stretched to 9 rounds by Obed Sullivan, Sullivan was simply fighting to survive, not to try to win. Closer look now on your first look at Vitaly Klitschko.
He is the first fighter we've ever heard of who has earned a PhD. He may also be the first fighter whose father is a full colonel in the Ukrainian Air Force. And his brother Vladimir won the gold medal in '96 when Vitaly was sidelined for a year after failing a drug test.
Chris Berd, like several of those Michigan State Spartans you saw in the Final Four today, hails from Flint, Michigan. 30-1 as a pro, 18 knockouts. 1992 Olympic silver medalist Vitaly Klitschko from Kiev in the Ukraine. 27 professional fights, 27 knockout victories. The judges, Melvina Lathan and Dr. Ruben Garcia of the United States, Joachim Jacobson of Germany.
All right. Good luck to both of you.
Ready?
Ready.
There's so clearly a David and Goliath dynamic here, Jim, that you wonder if somehow Chris Berd can't get the crowd on his side, if he can befuddle and frustrate his opponent as he's wont to do.
Vitalia Klitschko cuts such an imposing and dramatic figure in there that as he stood in the ring across from Berd during those introductions, I looked at the eyes of the media people, the judges, the photographers, and others at ringside, and virtually nobody looked at Berd, Larry. All eyes are drawn to Klitschko because of the figure he cuts. Now, Ibeabuchi in the early rounds, while losing those rounds to Berd, got to Bird's body. Klitschko doesn't throw a lot of body punches, or at least hasn't done so in his previous 27 fights. So one question in my mind is, will he go there, or will he stick with his head hunting, firing the jab, trying to come with the right hand, and perhaps get himself into trouble missing Berd?
Well, the other thing Ibeabuchi did after a few rounds is he started to try to beat on Berd anywhere in his body, on his arms, his shoulders, and so on.
You see Klitschko here, going with the jab, not really firing it. He wants to set up the right hand, and he gets Berd with the right hand, pins him in the corner, and already Berd begins to feel the power. That's how he got in trouble against Ibeabuchi. Berd said to us, I must stay off the ropes. I will stay off the ropes this time.
It's clear that Berd has already seen that how easy it is to neutralize the jab with his, since he's a southpaw.
A lot of conventional fighters have trouble landing jabs against southpaws. Double the problem if you're facing somebody who is as elusive and has the kind of head movement that Berd has. Refereeing the fight is Gino Rodriguez of the United States, one of the 3 of 4 American officials mentioned by Larry Merchant. So round 1 becomes a bit of a game of cat and mouse as Klitschko tries to set up a right hand, and Berd gets a look at him and tries to stay away from the ropes and in the center of the ring. Now Berd begins his own offensive assault, moving forward for the first time in the bout. When he fought Herbie Hyde in London last summer, Klitschko took a round to size Hyde up and then attacked early in the second round. He's been much more active here against Berd than he was in that fight against Hyde. The size differential as they get into the corner like that, Larry, is almost frightening.
It looks as though Berd is trying to chop down a sequoia with a penknife.
And as we go to the Klitschko corner, where they speak German, our translator is Cornelius Winter.
Okay, that was a good round. You are controlling. Don't let him come too much. Go sideways. Do provoke a bit, but not too much. Use your left. Use your left. Bam. Use it more. Use your long left. That should work out.
German is one of the 4 languages Klitschko speaks, incidentally. He also speaks Ukrainian, Russian, and English.
You want to spit again?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
In the corner, Klitschko trying to hit anything that moves or stands still. As you can see, there's a part of him that sort of clanks a little bit. He's not a fluid athlete, but he's awfully big and strong.
He will occasionally come underneath with the right hand. Normally, he likes to bring it over the top. His left hook usually travels wide of the target, but it can be effective nevertheless. Berd wants to jab with the right hand, of course, and then try to land that straight left, particularly as he gets along in rounds. Bird's feeling was, if he can get into the second half of the fight, Klitschko may tire. And it is a hot night in this arena, Larry. Copy box numbers in round number 1. Klitschko 11 out of 45. Berd 6 out of 24.
Klitschko is not. That right hand almost looked like it hurt Bird. Apparently it didn't.
Klitschko going to the body, and there's the answer to that question. He will attempt to get to Bird's ribcage here. Not having been much of a body puncher in the past, but of course, with 20 knockouts in the first 2 rounds, he hasn't often needed to go to that strategy. Nothing mysterious about what Klitschko tries to do. Right hand to the body, Bird blocking it with the elbow below the ribs. Klitschko trying to set up the right with the left hand, and Bird constantly catching the left with his own right hand. Catch, catch, catch. Klitschko misses twice. Only the second time in his 28-fight professional career that Klitschko has had to face a southpaw. However, he had 210 amateur fights and then a 5- or 6-year career as a kickboxing champion. So facing different styles is not something he regards as a big problem.
And only in kickboxing has he ever been knocked out by a foot. Maybe the foot was had some brass toes on it.
Many accomplished fighters will come to the fighter meeting with us and claim that they've never been knocked down. Then later, upon research, we'll discover that that isn't entirely the case. Klitschko was totally honest. He said, yes, I got knocked out in a kickboxing fight. I got kicked in the head. I went down and I was out. Getting to Bird's body as round 2 ends. Saw Chris Berg as he came back to the corner, turned to us and say he missed.
Get this out. Warm up.
Chris in his corner with his dad, Joe Bird, and his mother, Rose.
Get his fist bucket over here, Rose. He gonna try to push you when he get in close in a way he can. So you make sure don't lay on them ropes.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
A big man can fall on you and can hurt you on the ropes, okay?
Use your left-right combination. Punch deeper. Now he's coming. You have to move backward. Punch deeper. That was quite excellent. Go on like that.
Sorry, man.
You got a great close look at Vitali's brother, Vladimir Klitschko, leaning into the shot there as we sat in Klitschko's corner. Vladimir, a heavyweight, you'll see a highlight of him later on tonight with a record of 32-1. Round 3 begins with the pattern which has dominated both of the first 2 rounds. Klitschko pawing with the left hand, Bird catching it in mid-path with the right. Bird was openly confident about his chance to take advantage of this big opportunity. Now he finds himself pinned in the corner again. Klitschko tries to go to work with the right. Right hand trying to punch through the guard. Bird comes back with a left to the body. Against some of his opponents, Klitschko's been able to use his overwhelming strength simply to drive punches through the guard. Bird will try to use his elusiveness to obviate that.
You know, you get the feeling, Jim, that Bird is trying to get Klitschko to punch more, throw more leather, tire himself out. But Klitschko is fighting a pretty disciplined, well-paced fight. He hasn't gone wild. The body looks to be the only place that Bird can reach so far.
And there's a look at the unique elusiveness of Chris Bird as a heavyweight, adopting positions and body angles in the ring that you just won't see from anybody else in the division.
But it's not enough to make a man miss. You've got to make him pay when he misses. You've got to be less than a safety first and safety second fighter.
Now Bird's best punch of the fight, a right hand that lands flush to Klitschko's chin. Bird has knocked out bigger men after first frustrating them and exhausting them and perhaps breaking down their will. Jimmy Thunder in Connecticut, the classic case in point, and now Bird mounting more offense in round 3 than has been the case up to this point. Klitschko not yet as aggressive at this stage of the fight as Ibeabuchi was able to be in Tacoma. Once again, Ibeabuchi, the better, more accomplished body puncher. Quickly now, let's look ahead to some upcoming sports programs here on HBO.
For boxing, mark these dates on your calendar. April 15, when Fernando Vargas defends his junior middleweight crown against Ike Quartey. May 6 for the premiere of KO Nation, a new boxing series unlike anything you've ever seen before. And then on May 13, Roy Jones, boxing's best pound-for-pound fighter, defends his light heavyweight titles. Also featured, middleweight champion Bernard Hopkins taking on Brian Barbosa. HBO, the heart and soul of boxing. Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel premieres on April 10. Among the stories featured, Tom Osborne for Congress, a look at Nebraska's legendary and former head football coach as we follow him on the campaign trail for Nebraska's upcoming primary. And then on April 17th, Sports of the 20th Century presents Bill Russell, My Life, My Way, a documentary which explores the life, philosophies, and principles of one of the most compelling figures ever to play the game of basketball.
Bird says he likes to make a big man look stupid. It gives him a rush. And so far, he hasn't had the rush.
As round 4 begins, CompuBox numbers getting slightly more encouraging for Bird, who landed 6 out of 17 power punches in the last round, 6 out of 22 for Klitschko. Harold Letterman, how'd you score through the first 3?
Okay, Jim, I got it 30-27, 3-0 Vitaly Klitschko. He's landed the biggest shots and winning the rounds, but in round 3, Chris Bird started to show a little offense, really taking it to Klitschko, maybe getting him a little bit frustrated. But Jim, I'll tell you something, this advertising outside the ring is really bothering Chris Bird. Every time he goes to the ropes, his shoe hits that advertising. It's very typical in Europe, and they really should get rid of it.
At the end of the last round, Chris Bird's brother Patrick looked over at me and said things are going okay. So apparently the Bird family feeling is that the plan has a chance of working out. There's Klitschko trying to fire the right hand right up through the guard, and Bird tries to retaliate immediately with the left. If Klitschko occasionally looks awkward against Chris Bird, the expectation is that most heavyweights would. Bird said, after I lost to Ibeabuchi, I thought lots of guys would want to fight me. It didn't turn out to be the case. He even went so far as to buy an advertisement in the Las Vegas Review-Journal during the week of the Lewis Holyfield match in Las Vegas last fall, asking for quality opponents to fight him. The only response, Jorge Luis Gonzalez. Not what he was looking for.
He is a master of escapology. But can you beat a guy in his hometown that way?
Second right hand landed flush for Klitschko. But he's having to try to aim those right hands instead of really unleashing them. Now there's another right hand. Bird takes it pretty well.
Yeah, I was surprised how well he took that punch because that was a clean right hand.
Klitschko lands one to the body. Bird's chin holding up pretty well. Klitschko landing 2 more clean punches, a right and a left. Bird looping over the top, and Klitschko coming up underneath with the right hand. The ticklish part of the plan clearly for Bird. He's got to be offensive enough. He's got to attack enough to keep Klitschko from just setting his feet and firing away.
He's still in a little bit. You know, when you get in there, you got to run off series of punches. Okay?
Yeah, he's leaning that way. Tip him up.
Yeah, but you got to figure him out.
Got to figure him out.
You got to figure him out. You got to get in a series of punches there. Don't let him tie you up.
Just spit. No, give me water to spit.
Okay, now listen. Listen here. You stand a little too much in front of him.
Okay.
Take him in a circle. Then get his feet crossed up. You got to take him in a circle.
Good right hand right there. Bird seemed to handle it pretty well.
Let's go. Check it out. Let's go.
But in round 4, Bird threw just 28 punches by CompuBox numbers. He's only averaging 25 per round. He's going to have to step up the punch output, or at least you expect so, if he's going to win enough rounds in the second half of the fight to have a chance to take home a victory. Bird believes that with a victory here tonight, he can gain back what he lost in the Abeabuchi fight last year. As for Klitschko, who might not have proven much with a knockout of the well-worn Razor Ruddock, a victory over Bird would open a lot of eyes in the States.
Although you never look good against Bird, win or lose. This is not a sterling performance unless he ends it with a knockout. You can't say that Vitaly Klitschko looks like some unbeatable monster.
No, indeed, if he has to scrape his way to a 12-round decision here, as many of us thought was the likely case once Bird became the opponent, then that'll diminish Klitschko. The 27 knockout streak will go away. Hard left hand by Bird.
Now there, Bird did what he's supposed to do. He made him miss, and he made him pay.
You heard Bird's dad telling him, you've got to move in a circle, and you've got to figure him out. Translation, you got to throw more punches. And now Bird is doing it. Double left hand, and the second one landed well. And there are a fair number of Bird rooters in the crowd. He said to us in the meeting yesterday, after a while, I'll win the crowd over. Well, of course, David's always going to have some rooters against Goliath.
We also have to remember, Jim, that Russians or former Russians are not the favorite people of Berliners.
Of course, Klitschko might say Russians aren't the favorite people of Ukrainians either.
Well, I was in a cab the other day with a lady cab driver, and she said she thought Klitschko was an arrogant Russian.
Once again, he makes Klitschko miss and then fires back. Best round yet for Chris Berd. Whether that means the fight is changing in his direction remains to be seen. But a Berd rally punctuates the round, and he raises his arms to generate more crowd support as he goes back to his corner.
Here we see how Berd uses that escapology, but he doesn't always come out of it punching. He fights big men like the middleweight he once was. And on this occasion, he does come back after a miss.
Hold that. Okay, now let's keep him busy. Keep him backing up. He can't punch going back with power.
He's trying to lead that right hand. Let's go. Check us out. Let's go, Chris. Let's go.
You may have heard Chris Bird's father say he can't fight backing up. And Berd said back to him, you try to land that right hand going backward. So he knows it. Can he stay on the attack, be effective, and not get hit by a big punch?
Meanwhile, in Klitschko's corner, his German trainer, Fritz Spooner, asked him to use more combinations and just to try to land punches, not to try to land with such overwhelming force. Spooner apparently believing that Klitschko is trying to hit the home run when maybe a single or a double will do.
Well, Jim, it's like going up against a knuckleball pitcher. You want to hit the ball into the bleachers every time, and that's why big sluggers strike out on those kinds of pitches.
And almost here, George Foreman saying, just land the punch. Just make contact. Don't put everything you have into it. That's what Klitschko's trainer was asking him to do. It's a good thing for Vitaly that he's as fluent in languages as he is, because while Spooner, his trainer, speaks to him in German, his brother Vladimir simultaneously speaks to him in Russian. Round 6 of what is becoming an interesting heavyweight fight in Berlin, Germany, between the towering Vitaly Klitschko and the bouncy, elusive, obstreperous Crys Berg. There's an example of what Spooner asked for, just land the punch. Klitschko reached out with the right hand.
He's made a good adjustment to what happened to him in the last round.
Crys Berg's protective cup is loosening in the back. May or may not become a distraction for him, but it could cause a delay at some point.
Let's go. Get back, get back, get back, get back, get back.
Crys Berg landed half his punches in the 5th round. In the 6th round, as Larry pointed out, Klitschko making a good adjustment and regaining his momentum in the fight. But it looks like this one just might go the distance. And that would change Klitschko's bargaining power and his market position in the heavyweight division. We are in Berlin tonight with a look at Potsdamer Platz. During the 20s, the busiest crossroads in all of Europe. Today, one of the most active building areas in the world in this city, festooned with areas in the world in this city, festooned with cranes and huge construction machinery. There's as much new building going on here as probably anywhere else in the world, as Berlin becomes an entirely different place than has been the case before in the 20th century.
Okay?
Your punches are too low. Be careful and look what Berd is doing. Okay, good punches. Keep it calm. Keep it easy. Is that hurting? Okay. Keep a distance. Provoke him. Let him come.
Okay?
And then answer with a good combination.
Yep, you're right. Okay. Let's go. Second
Let's go now.
Well, as we've told you at the beginning of the evening, last year, Ross Purity, an American veteran, took on Klitschko's little brother Vladimir, a heavyweight with a record of 32-1. He exhausted Vladimir and rocked him in a late round, and Vladimir's trainer jumped into the ring and grabbed his fighter, stopping the fight. So that's the only professional loss for either Klitschko. Berg trying to repeat that same pattern here. Harold, how do you have it through 6?
Okay, Jim. 59-55, 5 rounds to 1. Vitaly Klitschko. In round 6, he definitely won the round. He kept catching Crys Berd as Crys moved in. Round 5 was a good Crys Berd round. But, Jim, I'm going to tell you something. The judges... They're calling time for the tape. Gino Rodriguez is going to make him tighten up that tape.
I told you this. I told you this was going to happen.
But Jim, the judges definitely see Vitaly Klitschko sucking air. His mouth is wide open. He's definitely starting to tire. He tired in round 6, so his fight could turn.
And And this is not incidentally for the protective cuff, as I had suggested, but rather for the tape around the glove. A delay at this point, probably good for Klitschko for the reason that Harold just described.
You know, when we spoke to Klitschko about his PhD in sports science, we asked him about this notion that a big man has problem with stamina. And he refused to go for it, said it depends on how you train, whether you pace yourself in the fight, and so on. Well, he's in the laboratory right now to prove it one way or the other.
27 previous fights. Vitaly Klitschko has been to the 6th round once and went to the 9th round against Obed Sullivan. Chris Berd has had 14 fights in his career of greater than 6 rounds. So we're moving into an area of the fight with which Berd is considerably more familiar. And now Klitschko makes Berd miss with the left hand. Klitschko connecting to this point in the fight at a rate of about 25%. Against all previous opponents, he connected at around a 47% rate. So Bird's elusiveness, a big factor in the fight so far. And if you're wondering about the difference between Berd against the big puncher last year, Ibeabuchi, and against Klitschko this year, one obvious change. Ibeabuchi's just quicker than Klitschko has been able to be here.
You have this strange sight of David coming forward and Goliath going backward.
You also have to wonder at what point does Klitschko perhaps become frustrated.
Pick up his trunk some, pick up his trunk some, right? Not too high, not too high. Open my cup a little bit.
Take a deep breath, let out slow. You still letting him catch you with 2 minutes.
One more drink.
2 minutes.
Quick.
Necessary punches.
Okay, move, Vitaly, and slip his punches. That was quite a good round. Take a breath. Drink a bit. Open your mouth. What's that? Okay. You're controlling. Keep a distance with your left.
Okay?
Check us out, let's go.
Everything okay? Okay. Go for it.
Dr. Vitaly Klitschko, PhD in sports sciences from Kiev University. First lieutenant in the Ukrainian Air Force, 4th generation military man. Taking on Chris Berd, who was raised to fight by his father, Joe Berd, who used to set his sons up in an 8-foot square indoor gym in their home in Flint, Michigan. One of Bird's advisors, John Hornauer, came in here tonight, took a look at the small ring and said, well, I guess they didn't know that Chris grew up in an 8-foot ring. And it was there in the 8-foot ring in his house that Berd learned to be invisible while standing still. The Burnell Whitaker of heavyweights, in effect, a man who can stand right in front of you and never be found by a significant bump. That's what he's trying to be against one of the biggest punchers in the sport here tonight.
But he's throwing his punches tentatively. He's not trying to put any serious hurt on Klitschko. He's just hoping, as we said earlier, Jim, that Klitschko will knock himself out.
Klitschko lands with a left hook. Berd comes back with 2 lefts of his own. Klitschko, you can almost see him trying to aim his punches now. Rare body shot from Klitschko. More of those, I think, would help him a lot. Manages to find Bird's head with a sort of half-speed right hand. Now a harder right hand. Berd comes back with the left. Klitschko to the body, and this time a big right hand, and Berd comes back with a double left of his own. Klitschko finding the target just a little bit more often now.
But you know, he's doing something pretty smart, Klitschko. He's not trying to punch through the target because it's too hard to do that with Berd. He's punching at the target and piling up points. If the knockout comes, it comes.
Do you think there are some sophisticates in the sport, Larry, who would give him just as much credit for an intelligent, well thought out decision victory over Berd as for another big knockout?
I doubt it.
I do too. Let's join us April 10 for the premiere of Real Sports with Brian Gumbel. One of the stories featured female high school wrestler Kristen LaBelle. She not only qualified for the state finals, but did so by wrestling against boys in the 102-pound division. Real Sports, where nothing is out of bounds. One of the things we've noticed about the German crowd is they are considerably quieter through much of the evening than is the case with American sports crowds of the same size.
Right hand followed by a counter left hand by Berd. But Berd just has nothing behind those punches. He's going to have to hope that Klitschko is exhausted and will go down from one of those feather dusters.
Meanwhile, Klitschko threw 81 punches in the 8th round to only 39 for Berd. And unless Berd were a big power puncher, which he's not, it would be difficult for him to win rounds throwing half as many punches as his opponent. But of course, 2 of the 3 judges from the United States. So while you might say, oh, Berd's up against it, going to Berlin to fight Klitschko on what amounts at this point to his home turf, remember that it is Berd who has the advantage of having 2 of 3 judges and the referee from his own nationality. Straight right hand lands for Klitschko. And a harder right hand for Klitschko. Berd kind of shaking his head as if to say, you can't hurt me. But Berd not firing back as Klitschko targets and targets. And now there's the left hand by Berd with shocking effect.
I think it shocked the crowd. I'm not sure it shocked Klitschko.
I think that's what I meant, too. I think Klitschko knows what's coming at this point. Translator Cornelius Winter telling us now that Klitschko's trainer has said Klitschko's left hand is hurt and he can't use it to the full extent. But he's still using it and throwing it, and it's the right hand that does the big damage most of the time anyway. Crowd gets excited as Berd mounts a rally, firing 3 punches in combination.
That was Bird's best series of punches about 10 seconds ago. He was flat-footed. Good series to the head and the body.
Berd trying to dull Klitschko into believing that he had hurt him with the right hand, and now Berd exciting the crowd by landing back in counter, and Klitschko fires a left hook and then comes back with 3 rights, and Berd stands against the ropes, which he told us he wouldn't do. And there's another right hand landing for Klitschko, and Berd fires back with a left of his own. Crowd loves what Berd is doing. Klitschko minding his business in there. Berd misses with the left, and Klitschko with a glancing right hand. They've gone 10. So having gotten through the 9th round, that assures us of the longest tour of duty of Vitaly Klitschko's professional career.
Okay, take it easy, take it easy. Is it hurting?
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's vorbei.
Okay, it's over. We are giving up.
It's okay.
It hurts too much.
It's okay.
No, it's okay. Don't worry.
Wait a minute.
They're stopping it. They are. That's exactly what Cornelius Winter just told us.
I can't believe what I've just seen.
Vitaly Klitschko elects not to go on with his left hand apparently too damaged to continue. And Chris Berd gets a victory. Chris Berd taking a fight on 10 days' notice. Retrieves a portion of what he lost last year against Ike Ibeabuchi. Vitaly Klitschko stunningly and mysteriously dropping out of a fight in which he appeared headed toward an easy victory.
He doesn't have the mentality of a champion. I can hardly believe what I just saw. You have a bad hand, so what?
I couldn't believe my ears when I heard interpreter Cornelius Winter repeating what he heard out of Klitschko's corner, but indeed, it was a perfect interpretation. He was exactly right. Klitschko and his team deciding not to go forward. Incredible.
I've never seen anything like that, Jim. I'm speechless, really. All he had to do
was survive 2 more rounds.
I mean, he's way, way ahead. All he had to do was stand in there for a few rounds, play defense, and win the fight.
We will see the judges' scorecards very shortly and give you an idea of how Klitschko stood in the fight. Right now, let's go to ring announcer Götz Otto for the official particulars on the stunning victory for Chris Berd.
Ladies and gentlemen, the official decision. The new heavyweight champion of the WBA is Chris Berd.
There's a buzz at ringside indicating that Vitaly Klitschko may have entered this fight with an injured shoulder. There's Tracy Berg. It's almost indescribable what's taking place here. You got to look at the tears in the eyes of Chris Bird's wife, Tracy, overcome with joy and excitement at the gift which has just been given to her husband. And of course, you heard the ring announcer describing Berd as a title holder. Remember, this is the WBO title. Now Klitschko speaking to the crowd.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am terribly sorry. I am giving up, but I'm going to get back my belt. My shoulder is hurting too much.
Let's take a CompuBox profile look at a very strange fight. Overall numbers, Klitschko landing only 8 more punches than Berd while throwing 218 more. The difference in connect percentage follows from there. Total power punches, Berd landing more than half his power shots, 82 out of 163, and perhaps that contributed to Klitschko's frustration as the fight continued. Now Larry with the winner, Chris Berd.
All right, Chris, congratulations. What do you think happened at the end of the fight?
I guess his shoulder went out, but I was coming on. You know, I really wanted it. I felt he was outboxing me a bit, but I just kept coming, and I pursued it.
You think that your activity toward the later rounds is what discouraged him in some way?
Yeah. I mean, I fought against Russia 11 times in the amateurs. And the last 3 times I won, and I stopped 2 of them, and I kept coming. And they quit. So I'm not saying he don't have a big heart, but hey, I think he was up on the scorecard. Man, it was close. I keep fighting. I mean, I fought Ike with separated ribs, and nobody knew about it. And you criticized me, so you call me less than a man.
All right, do you feel that from your experience that the Russians and the Eastern Europeans in general have a different mentality about fighting hurt?
Oh, no. I'm just saying the ones I fought. I mean, Konstanzu, I love him. I fought with him in the amateur. He got a big heart. He keep taking it and keep winning and lost one. But, he's a Russian, and the European guys can take it. I mean, he just quit on Sue for some reason. If it was me, if it's the other way around, I'm fighting Ninja. I don't care.
What does this mean to you?
Oh, it means a lot. I mean, I can get more fights now. And I'm telling all the heavyweights, they don't want to fight me. I mean, this guy is a 6'8" boxing guy. Guys like Lewis and Michael Grant, they coming straight ahead. I make them miss all day. I frustrate a big man. That's why he started getting on his toes. And then I'm 210 pounds, and I start walking him down. What kind of stuff is that? He's 235 pounds, 6'8". That's crazy. Throw it to the bite, throw it to the head. I won it. And I represent Christ. That's why. The power.
What do you think's happening back in Flint when they see this?
They going crazy, but Michigan State got to do it. Hope they won tonight. And then they win the title, and I won the title. So bring on all the heavyweights. I like I always said, I'll fight any heavyweight in the world anytime. Look I'm in Berlin. I lost 8 pounds since I've been here. I'm 210-pound heavyweight. Blowing no super medal, and nobody don't want to fight me. Bring them. This is for David Lesage, who passed away.
Thank you very much, and congratulations again, Chris Berd. Jim?
What a personal reversal. 10 days ago, Chris Berd was still in the darker reaches of the heavyweight division, preparing to fight Adolfo Washington for $25,000. Now let's go to Larry Merchant with Vitaly Klitschko.
Vitaly, what happened?
Я прошу прощения у всех моих болельщиков в Германии, на Украине. Так получилось, что я не мог провести этот поединок. После 3-го раунда у меня очень сильно болела левая рука против левши. Я не могу боксировать с одной правой. И с каждым раундом боль усилилась, и я отказался от проведения поединка.
I want to say sorry to all my fans in Germany and the United States. After the 3rd round, I had a problem and I couldn't withstand southpaw.
What was the problem? Did you come into this fight with an injury?
Вы пошли в борьбе с повреждением?
Это старая травма, повреждения не было, а теперь я снова получил.
No, there was no injury. There was an old injury, but it didn't inflict on the fight.
Was your hand hurt?
Ваша рука была, может быть, повреждена?
Мое плечо.
Ваша рука, он спросил.
Мое плечо.
No, it was the shoulder.
And was this a previous injury, or did he get it during the fight?
Это было старое повреждение, или вы получили это в ходе боя?
Я получил в ходе поединка.
It was in the fight.
You seem to be way ahead in the fight. That all you had to do was survive till the end of the 12th round to win the fight. Why would you give up your title in those circumstances?
Было такое впечатление, что вы были вперед, в принципе, а вы должны были просто до 12-го раунда продолжать бой. Почему так получилось, чтобы это не было возможно?
Я не мог с каждым раундом, я не мог продолжать поединок.
I couldn't in every round win enough points.
So you thought you were behind in the fight?
Вы думаете, что вы были назад, да, по очкам?
Нет. Я вел этот поединок. Я выйду здоровым в ринг, и я верну мой титул.
I will come back into the ring sound, and I will win back my title.
Shouldn't a prize fighter be able to fight when he's hurt?
Боксер не должен тоже боксовать, если он получил повреждение.
я хочу провести бой нормально, а не получить травму и закончить со спортом. Лучше восстановиться, проиграть один бой, вернуться и выиграть. Или заключить со спортом навсегда.
I don't want to fight and get an injury and not be able to fight anymore. I want to be able to go back into the ring and fight.
Thank you very much, Vitaly.
Sorry.
Back to you, Jim.
Vitaly Klitschko refusing to acknowledge the point, but it remains. All he needed to do was stand up for 3 more rounds. He wouldn't have had to throw another punch to win the fight, as the judges had it 88-83, 89-82, 88-83, all for Klitschko. Our unofficial ringside rounds, he wouldn't have had to throw another punch to win the fight, as the judges had it 88-83, 89-82, 88-83, all for Klitschko. Our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman, also had Klitschko winning 88-83. And joining me now at ringside, Larry Merchant. Larry, you said toward the end that you had never seen anything like this, but now I have to remind you that just a few months ago, we saw Andrew Galata, coincidentally, or perhaps not so coincidentally, another product of the Eastern European socialist sports training regime, quit under similar circumstances against Michael Grant. So we have seen something sort of like this before.
Well, Galata was ahead in 3 fights that he found a way to lose, but he was getting punished by big men in both of those fights. Riddick Bowe in the first 2, when he was disqualified for low blows, and Michael Grant, who knocked him down. We didn't see anything tonight that looked anything like that. He was never punished in this fight. Certainly, Chris Berd deserves credit for being a little bit more aggressive than we saw him against Abe Abuchi, for being professional about how he went about his work. Even he was in some discomfort because of coming over here and not eating the proper foods, etc. And he stayed in there. That's the first duty of a real professional fighter, and certainly of a champion. Maybe the difference, Jim, is that Klitschko got his PhD in sports science from a university instead of from the School of Hard Knocks.
Does Berd gain a new foothold in the division as the result of this kind of a win?
He gains some kind of a foothold. He'll make some money, and that's good. He's a good kid. He tries hard. He's a little guy trying to go up against the giants and so forth and so on. But, I mean, overall, I didn't think it was a very impressive performance by him. It's great that he won the fight and so on. But I don't think he's a serious factor among the serious heavyweights out there.
Incidentally, the WBO, the organization for which Berd now holds a world title, lists as its #1 contender a fellow named Mike Tyson, the supposed mandatory challenger, and we don't expect to see that fight. Incidentally, we told you earlier that we would show you a look at Vitaly Klitschko's younger brother, Vladimir, the 1996 Olympic gold medalist in the super heavyweight division. This is his recent knockout victory in a rematch against the guy he beat for the gold medal.
A much more fluid fighter than his brother, but like his brother in his only defeat, he had some adversity and he said, "Good night, I'll see you next time." I don't get it.
Both of them will have something to prove as they go back to work in the future. Well, this was just the beginning of a big month of